Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh, except no cheesy substitutes from LA who say they're Pittsburgh guy. And this is Donald Trump talk. Well, first of all, the Fresno Bee in April said Trump not to appear in Fresno during campaign swing. Well, who gave an hour and a half speech yesterday? Better part of an hour and a half, but I listened to the whole thing. Wasn't Hillary Clinton, wasn't Bernie Sanders, it was Donald Trump. And who else was there? The usual leftist rioters who were peaceful till some yahoos started throwing crap at the police, and a bunch of them got arrested, and they got arrested in Anaheim, they got arrested in Albuquerque. These people aren't protesters, they're thugs and rioters, and they're being financed by the left. Now, if they showed up at a Democratic convention, and that's probably going to happen because the Sanders nuts will probably show up and quote-unquote protest, and they'll throw things, and they'll burn Hillary signs, and you know what? I wouldn't put it past the leftist media to say it's the fault of the Tea Party or conservatives. When you look at those crowds, it's mostly young people. San Diego, they had guys picketing for fair pay for janitors. What did that have to do with Trump? I don't know. I guess they're supporting a janitors union. So, you know, it's ignored by the leftist media. If there's a fight between a Trump supporter and one of these yahoos, they play it all up. Protesters gets beaten up at a Trump rally. But if they try to smash police cars or smash windows, as we've seen them do, or chain themselves to cars, they ignore it. Because they're all progressives in the leftist media. 85-90% are all leftists. And you won't hear word one of any leftist doing anything that's wrong. But if conservative says something anti-Hillary or anti-Elizabeth Warren or anti-Bernie Sanders, he's mean-spirited. And Hillary Clinton, excuse me, well, Hillary said that Trump supports and loves the leader of North Korea. Trump never said it. Hillary said Trump loves and knows Putin. Trump's never talked to Putin. Trump's never met Putin. He said it in his speech. Puts out more lies than Lying Ted. Yeah, lying Hillary. And then we got the number one liar in the country, Barack Obama. The guy who's on the American Apology Tour, American Apology Tour, like he went on the American Apology Tour when he was running for president in 2008. Probably apologized for the first turkey who had his neck cut off. I haven't heard him say that, but I'm surprised he hasn't. Apologized for the first Native American who was shot by the evil colonists. And who knows? He might have, if there had been cavemen and dinosaurs, he would have apologized for the first dinosaur he clubbed over the head for food. So where does he go? He goes to Hiroshima. Or Hiroshima. I've never been certain how to pronounce it. And he effectively apologizes. Now, he didn't say it in so many words. Blames it on religion. Blames it on whatever. I'm not going to quote him. I know what he said, and anybody knows what he said. And he talks about the bodies that are here. Well, a lot of the bodies aren't there. They were vaporized. But the people that died later due to radiation sickness, he's weeping for those victims. Well, I'll tell you something. This guy is supposedly a student of history, the great constitutional scholar who violates the Constitution at every waking moment that he can, executive orders, his moving children, legal children all over the country and spending millions, and other things. Well, he doesn't mention the 80,000 women that were raped in the rape of Nanking in 1937. Now, I'm looking at a picture on my screen. There's a Japanese soldier standing by a river. And from one end of the picture to the other are dead Chinese bodies, massacred when they moved into Nanking. And he doesn't mention the doctors and nurses in Singapore that were murdered. Those nurses were raped. I read a story today where a nurse, she was a leader of 21 other nurses, and they were in a boat, and the Japanese strafed the boat, and they swam to shore. These women swam to shore. They could have escaped. They could have gone off into the jungle, but the leaders said, we've run away too much. We're going to stand and take care of the soldiers. Well, these 21 women were shot down. And a lot of those nurses were raped by Japanese soldiers before they killed them. And then we have, of course, the Bataan Death March, where hundreds, if not thousands, of American and Filipino scouts and soldiers died on their way to the death camps. And probably hundreds of civilians were put in death camps, or put in camps and probably died due to malnutrition. And our American Rangers rescued those prisoners in 1945. And Obama didn't mention the 2,000 and some American sailors, soldiers, airmen who died at Pearl Harbor. And did they die because they did it in Japan? No. We were at peace with Japan. And let's not forget the people that died in the Philippines when Japan attacked the Philippines, Singapore, Hong Kong. Britain didn't declare war on Japan. America didn't declare war on Japan until after the Japanese attack. Then FDR stood before Congress and said, a day that will live in infamy. We were attacked by something that if it was done today, they'd call it terrorism. And Obama doesn't mention that. And millions would have died if we would have invaded Japan. The Japanese were starving. Their merchant fleet had been sank by our Navy. And there wasn't going to be any rescue of Japanese troops in mainland China like that idiot Douglas Dietrich thinks, because they had no shipping to go pick them up. You know, Obama conveniently forgets all these facts. He cries for the victims of Hiroshima, and I'm surprised he didn't go to Nagasaki. And he went to Vietnam and did more apologizing. Not one word of condemnation for Japan starting the war to begin with. And then the press is making a big deal out of Trump saying there is no drought. Well, he's not exactly right, but he's right about one thing. We take water, we flush it out of the delta and down the rivers, and it washes into the bay and eventually into the ocean. And the farmers in Fresno that Trump talked to can't get enough water to grow their crops, and California grows 80% of the farm produce in the world. And why can't they get enough water? Well, there's a little 3-inch fish. Now, it's a nice little fish, the little silver fish. I got nothing against it. Relocate the fish to somewhere where it won't get into pumps and die. They're talking about this little fish is in danger of extinction. But I'll tell you something you may not know. The University of California is spending $10 million a year to grow these little fish and put them back in the water so they can get put back and die, I guess. I guess they're not extinct enough if they put more fish in. And this is a University of California run by the incompetent Janet Reno. Remember Waco and Ruby Ridge? And that university is broke. They had to lay off people after the students demanded they pay assistants $15 an hour. They've had to lay off people because they're hundreds of thousands of hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. They don't have the money to pay for the people they got now. They got $10 million to make fish or grow fish or whatever they do with the little fish in the tanks. And there's another thing. Fresno's building an aquarium, but they said it'll be years for the planning stages are there, but they won't build the aquarium for years. So there's water to build an aquarium. So, they're going to have fish in tanks that people can go see, and yet there's no water to grow crops. So, Fresno B, how come you aren't issuing your traction? We said no Trump in Fresno. And another thing, whenever there's a Trump rally, Anaheim, Albuquerque, Fresno, the Trump supporters are selling buttons, they're selling t-shirts, they got signs, they're wearing shirts, they're with Trump, make America great again. I think they should change it to make America greater, because America already is great. Always will be great, as long as we don't have incompetent leadership like Obama. Oh yeah, and Trump said this week that Jimmy Carter should be happy that Obama is president because it makes Jimmy Carter look good. And the former Wussin chief said, well, I never bombed anybody. And I never sent missiles or shot anybody. Yeah, and that's why the Iranians, Ahmadinejad, the former president of Iran, that's why they stormed our embassies and kept our diplomats and workers hostage for over a year until Ronald Reagan came in. And that's why the Arabs, OPEC, drove the price of gas up to where we had long fuel lines and we had 22% inflation under Jimmy Carter, who sat in his office in the White House and made speeches with his sweater on, saying we should all wear sweaters because there was also a shortage of natural gas and people were freezing in their homes. And he talked about a national malaise. That Jimmy Carter. Well, he didn't get reelected because the American people said, screw you and your malaise. They voted in Ronald Reagan. The first thing he said when he got in office, I want this inflation thing fixed. His first cabinet meeting. And within hours, all those hostages that Jimmy Carter couldn't release, and he screwed up the rescue attempt in the desert where one helicopter crashed, American soldiers died. He couldn't rescue hostages. Trained guy in Annapolis, learned on nuclear power systems, served on submarines. He's a pacifist. Well, you don't need a pacifist in the White House. We got enemies. You need a strong leader who's going to tell other countries we're the United States of America. And you got to listen to us. And in Japan, our troops are being told to stand down, to not go into town because one person got murdered in Okinawa. And Okinawa is considered part of Japan. You think that would have happened under Ronald Reagan? No, they would have court-martialed the guy, and that'd be the end of it. But they want us out of Okinawa. Okay, let's leave Okinawa. Trump has said that the Japanese are paying 50% of our cost to have troops at bases in Japan. And he said, why aren't the Japanese paying for their own defense? Why aren't they paying 100%? We got troops in Germany. We got troops in South Korea, one of the most prosperous economies in the world. But they always shoulder the debt on our backs. And then bitch when we're there to take care of them. So, that's the deal there. But Obama, whenever he can, he tears down America. He doesn't say, I apologize for us dropping the bomb. He blames it on religion, religious fervor, and he doesn't dare say, Hey, Japanese, you started the war and we finished it. Because he's the worst, like Jimmy Carter. He thinks everything America does is bad. And he disrespected his own Democratic president, Harry Truman, who was a great man. Harry gave reasons why he dropped the bomb on Japan. It was to end the fighting. And the Japanese military, they tried to kill their own chief of staff. They didn't want to quit even after 2 bombs were dropped on them. And the emperor said, no. You're going to stop fighting. We're going to stop the war. They would have fought on, and I think I've read estimates that 1 million Japanese would have stormed the beaches with clubs and sticks and spears, and they would have died. Men, women, and maybe even children. So how many Japanese lives did we save by dropping those bombs? And we would have lost thousands, hundreds of thousands of American troops storming the home island. Obama doesn't mention that. Operation Olympic. The planned invasion of Japan. So next time you hear Obama go on his world apology whiny tour, think about the real meaning of history and what the Japanese military did to the people of Southeast Asia, the Philippines, and American soldiers and civilians who died at Pearl Harbor. Apologize for that, Obama. All right, this is the guy from Pittsburgh, George Senda. Have a great day, and I'll catch you next time. And go Donald Trump. Bye-bye.